Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where, well, I talk about too many movies. See, I love movies, I love watching them, I love analyzing them, I love critiquing them, I love them. Even the ones I hate, I love. Mostly. But I seem to own, well, too many. So I think it's high time I went through these and decide on which ones I should keep and which ones I should get rid of. Basically, I'll just be talking about them, ones I've watched, ones I liked, ones I disliked, just all these DVDs, Blu-rays, and the occasional VHS tapes just that are piling up in my collection. I gotta decide. I gotta, finalize and decide whether to keep them or to get rid of them. Basically, I want to keep my movie collection neat and organized. So, pretty much, let's just get started and talk about one of these movies. Alright, the first movie I wanted to talk about is not a movie, but it's a DVD, and it's called Cartoon Crazies Go to War. And it's a very interesting piece of history. Basically, it's just a bunch of war propaganda cartoons all on one disc. It's it's pretty freaking hilarious, actually. Basically, it's just all these cartoons from the 40s, back when World War II was happening, and just you get a sense of like what cartoons were like. Not all of them, obviously, because that's just not the case. But some of them were very quote unquote propaganda, or not really quote unquote. They were literally just propaganda, basically just like rah rah, let's go fight them Nazis, and racially insensitive depictions of Japanese people. So it's basically just cartoons like that. It's not every single one of them. It seems to be just Warner Brothers centric cartoons of that nature. There doesn't seem to be Disney stuff on here. I doubt Disney will ever do DVDs or release their propaganda cartoons. It's never going to happen. Like DeFure's Face, I'm sure there's one where Mickey Mouse is like doing something wartime. Like we will never see those on like any official Blu-ray or DVD or anything like that. It's impossible. So yeah, that's basically what's on this DVD. A bunch of war propaganda cartoons. Like I said, there's Bugs Bunny doing blackface, being like, buy war bonds. There's, a couple Superman cartoons where he goes and fights Nazis and all that sort of stuff. There's this guy named Private Snafu who deals with being a dickhead in the army, and then booby traps. And yeah, they do make that joke. Don't worry. It's what's funny about this DVD is that it also has cartoons that aren't necessarily, wartime heavy. There's this one that's basically about Bugs Bunny and this gremlin fighting, and it's not necessarily about Bugs Bunny fighting Nazis. They just so happen to be on an army base in this cartoon. And so it's interesting that this DVD considers that, quote unquote, war centric, which I guess it is. But then there's this really weird one where it's called Phony Fables, and it's just basically a bunch of, cartoon versions of very famous fables. And the only thing that happens in it that has anything to do with war is a grasshopper holds up a couple war bond papers. And that was like enough for this DVD to be like, oh, it has to do with war. It's like, yeah, I guess. It's just so strange, the criteria for the kind of cartoons that are on here. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm kind of a sucker for old cartoons. I'm a sucker for old cartoons that are clearly not, the studios that made them, clearly not very proud of them considering how old they are. I'm a fan of those kinds of cartoons. I love DeFure's Face, the old Disney cartoon that they refuse to show anymore, purely because they refuse to show it anymore. Like, that fascinates me. That's just like, oh, we don't want you to see this. It's like, well, I fucking want to watch it then, And, just having these kinds of cartoons all on this DVD, it's just fascinating to me. And for that reason alone, I think I'm going to keep this. I was debating because a lot of these cartoons aren't really all that great, but just like the historical significance they have and just the fact that they're all in this one DVD is just really freaking cool. You know, I'm a sucker for old cartoon compilation DVDs like this. I grew up with things like this. So, you know what? I'm keeping it. Okay, moving on to the next movie I wanted to talk about today, and it's actually a movie. It's not just a weird DVD of just old cartoons. This one's an actual movie. Well, as actual as a movie can be. So it's called The Eye, starring Jessica Alba, and it's from 2008. And it's basically a horror movie about this blind woman getting an eye transplant, and then she sees dead people, and, you know, hijinks ensue. It's a remake of another horror movie. I think it was like a Chinese horror movie from the early 2000s, but this is the American remake from the late 2000s. I've never seen the original, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's better. Even if it's not great, it's probably better than this, you know, or even if, you know, this remake is better, it fucking sucks. It's not very good. You know, it's so stupid. It is so unbelievably stupid. You know, there's just all these convenient plot threads. There's these just contrivances upon contrivances. There's so many jump scare fake outs. It's so irritating. I hate jump scares, and I hate just movies that just horror movies in general that just feel the same as other horror movies where they're just like, ooh, rising violins, ooh, we're gonna jump scare you. It's just like, oh, it's just so fucking played out, and it doesn't feel scary. Like, yeah, it spooks you when like jump scares happen, but like, you know, it doesn't mean anything. In the grand scheme of things, it means nothing than to just get a reaction out of you at that one moment. And it sucks. I hate it. I hate when horror movies do this. It's annoying. It's so freaking annoying. I can't stand it. And, you know, this movie does a lot of that, which is very, very annoying. And it's just so weird, you know? Like, you have this kind of neat concept. You have this blind woman who's just like, who really just didn't want to get the surgery to begin with. Yeah, that's a weird thing that's never really expanded upon. You know, Jessica Alba is just like, oh, I didn't actually want the surgery, but I got it anyway because my sister told me to. It's like, okay, want to elaborate on that? No, just it just is what it is. You know, it's just, she just didn't want the surgery, but then she got it. It's like, I guess the only thing that really plays into is, spoiler alert, in the end, she damages those new eyes and she goes blind again. And she's like, oh, I learned that I just needed to be blind the whole time. I guess it was really, really weird. Such a weird note to end on. Just be like, oh, you're blind again. It's like, okay, I guess never be ashamed of who you are. But then why? It's just, oh God, it's just so stupid. Oh God. And then the first thing you see when she's a blind woman is, so like, it opens on her like walking down a sidewalk, and there's like this idiot on a skateboard or something, and he's just like skating through, and they come up to like a crosswalk, and you know, the guy on the idiot on the skateboard's about to just like skate off into the street while a bus is coming, and Jessica Alba stops him, and he's just like, whoa, sorry, I didn't see that coming. And she's like, yeah, neither did I. It's just like, what? Like, I get it. Like, and then she explains in her narration, oh, I am blind, but I learned to, you know, use my other senses. It's just like, oh God, you're not Daredevil. Like, this is so stupid. You know, I'm supposed to take you seriously, but you're just like, oh, I have an innate sense of smell and hearing, and oh, like, I'm so cool, even though I'm blind. It's like, great. Like, I just, why, oh, it just doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid. It's so insistent upon itself that it's like this, oh, this like cool movie. Like, oh, it's so scary. It's like, no, it's so lame. It is so unbelievably lame. Oh God, this cover, it's like a close-up of Jessica Alba's eye, and there's a hand coming out of the eye. It's like, I guess that's scary, but like, what does that have to do with the movie? Like, I guess it's a striking image. Like, oh, fingers coming out of an eyeball. Whatever. Like, the movie doesn't really, it's not scary. It's not scary. And it's just, it's basically a Sixth Sense ripoff because, Jessica Alba, she gets these new eyes and she can see dead people, which is weird. Which is weird because like she can see dead people, but she can also see like images from the woman, from the donor who donated those eyes, so she can see her life, but she can also see dead people. So it's like these two different things. It's like, how does that make any sense? Because apparently the woman who had donated those eyes, she was like some Mexican lady and she was like called a witch in her village. And it's like, okay, but it's never really explained. Like, is she a witch? Is she like, why can she see dead people? Why is that a thing? Why anything? Why? What is going on here? Like, I don't understand, movie. Like, you explain nothing and I'm supposed to just care. I don't. I really don't. It is so unbelievably lame. The only time I was ever engaged with this movie is there's this one scene, this really, really unintentionally funny scene when Jessica Alba, is like walking around her apartment because she hears something and she opens up her oven and she like sticks her head in and then it bursts into flames and then she gets caught on fire. She's like, ah! And then it immediately cuts to her like waking up in bed and be like, oh, and it's just like, oh, it was all a dream. But it's like, oh God, it was so funny. Like, I don't often rewind movies because I find that annoying, but like, I genuinely rewound because I was like, wait, I need to see this again. Like, I need to focus on this one scene. And it was fucking hilarious. It was brilliant in how stupid it was. It caught me off guard. I loved it. But the rest of the movie was unspecial. It was so bad. It was so stupid. I mean, really, I've never heard of this movie up until now, and for good reason. It's not very good. So if you ever hear about it, don't watch it. It's not fun. It's not even funny bad. It's just bad. And as the DVD itself, it's apparently a Blockbuster rental that's been overdue since 2008. I don't know. I didn't rent it. I wasn't going to Blockbuster in 2008. So I don't know how I came across this, but I don't want it anymore. So I'm getting rid of it. This is definitely a movie I will be getting rid of. If it was more funny bad, I'd think about owning it. But, I just don't really want to own an overdue Blockbuster rental of a really boring movie from the late 2000s. So yeah, gonna have to pass on this one, Chief. And well, that about does it for this first episode of Too Many Movies. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of this show. Should I make it a little more structured? Should I, keep it as just a free-flowing whatever, just talking about the movies? Should I do like one movie an episode? Should I do multiple? Like any thoughts would be really cool. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Anyway, that about does it. I'll be seeing you guys in the next episode, maybe, hopefully. All right, bye.